Ayo, welcome to Benchwarmers, a Woso podcast, episode 25. The Bundesliga, the Frauen Bunds. I promised you all, and I have delivered. Don't worry, I've delivered for the biggest match. Well, it is a terrific night to review some Frauen Bundesliga action as Penalties and Bayern Munchen take on Janina Minga and VFL Wolfsburg Frauen here at the Bayern Campusplatz 1. I am Benrik Ray, joined in the commentary area by generational Arsenal delusionist and expert analyst Allegra Scaffer. Good evening, Allegra. That's all I've got, really.
Am I supposed to be that game?
Yeah, you're supposed to be Derek Ray. You're supposed to be like, hi, I'm Allegra, and here we're talking about VFL v Bayern.
Rainy conditions here at the campus.
Not bad. I'll give you that. But that is all you're getting for impressions out of us this week. But this was a huge match. I hope Derek Ray was commentating this match because, my God, 2.3 million people in Germany watched this game, and it was cinematic. At least the first half was quite cinematic in ways that only are described by a first v second bout with very little jeopardy. But look, the stadium was packed out. It was. I reckon they could have done this at the Allianz. To be honest, I think it was just because Bayern were playing. Bayern were just playing there at similar times. But I mean, I know you don't like the Allianz, and I understand.
I like the Allianz. I don't care about the 8-2. I'm over that.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's what I was thinking, but I was going to say the Allianz for the 3-2. Clara Ball.
Was that at the Allianz?
Was it? I think it was at the Allianz. No?
I'm going to say sure.
Was it at Meadow? It wasn't at Meadow Park.
No, it wasn't.
Absolutely not.
No, it was
at the Allianz. It was definitely at the Allianz Arena. You were 2-0 up at the Allianz because I saw. It was great game. But let's go through the first half. I feel like we can give this game its plaudits it deserves. It's a very important game. It was a half of two halves in a way. I feel like VFL weathered the storm relatively early and then did what any side weathering the storm should do, which is get them on the break. Don't get me wrong, Damjanovic and Penalties started their runs early, and we'll get to their performances later on. But it was Bussy on the sheet in 15 minutes as Dijkstra whips. I didn't know Dijkstra could whip the ball like that, to be honest. That was very impressive. Enderman, who touched it down. I thought Bussy was going to one-touch it, even from that weird angle, but she hits it. But I've never seen this before, but I've never seen a player use an opposition player as one of those like little academy walls that you see at like a football academy where you just pass it off them and it bounces back and then you get to shoot. But that's what Bussy basically did with Eriksson to get the 1-0. Shout out to Bussy because Zakai and Bussy have been running VFL for the last 2.5 weeks right now, and they're not getting enough credit for it because, I mean, we do the pop, we do the Bierenstein, we do all this stuff, but I don't think anyone had Clara Bussy 1-0 on their bet slip, basically. Shout out to also making it a rivalry. Kamila Kuva and Damjanovic absolutely hounding each other for that ball. That, like, there was some aggressive 1v1.
Everyone, though, to be fair.
No, but this was Kuva was giving it back. That's what I like. Kuva, 21-year-old, 22-year-old, giving it back, which is what I want to see. Not a lot of good chances for Bayern in that first 20 to 30 minutes until the inevitability of Clara Bull, MF Bull, just the outlet, the chance creator, I think it was late on in the first half. There's a moment where she absolutely dropped Bielda. Like, the moves she's got, the bag she has, like, she can do anything she wants on that left side, and they just had to cop it, and they were dealing with it well. Minga blocked a shot on the line from Dahlmann. I think Dahlmann had a really good game. It's a serious performance, but all of Bayern's efforts and works translated to a second half Allianz shellacking. I mean, I know it was at the Bayern campus, but it might as well have been a second half like Arsenal at the Allianz kind of vibe, because it was a crucifixion, like clinical serial control. Stine Johannes is on form as well. It's not like Stine Johannes is off form, and they managed to put 4 past her in the second half. Damjanovic putting 2 past her in 2 minutes. Obviously, the clearance from Stina Johannes getting blocked by Damjanovic is an absolute coach killer. That is an absolute, like, I'm sure Lurch on the line was just like, how has this just happened? And then 2 minutes later, Dahlmann playing in, I think she was pseudo playing as like a central midfielder kind of role. She was so central, and then she's taken the ball, she gives it to Bull. Bull keeps it, Ket on the overlap, plays it across, and Damjanovic gets the 2-1 in literally 2 minutes. It was unbelievable. And then 5 minutes later, Pernilla Harder stopped on the line from Julia Gwyn's cross. So they're going left, they're going right. There's no way to stop it. And then they're going through the center because Tanikawa sets up Stanway, and then Bull's off-balance shot from a rebound, from the Stanway rebound, gets the 4th goal. It was a 4-1. I mean, the stats don't really do justice to how close the first half really was. I think Bayern's shots and shot selection.
6-1, I think.
Yeah, 6-1. But ultimately, those 6 shots weren't high percentage in the sense of, like, they weren't great chances, and they were sitting back on it, VFL, so they were composed. It's just to put a second half performance like that shows their class, shows that they're not just like, they could have easily lost this game, had no damage, go for the UCL, don't put out your first squad, but they put on a show, and Barcalas does what Barcalas does, which is absolutely deliver when it matters on the bigger stages.
I think that it's going to be said by many, especially coming into the later stages of the Champions League, that this Bayern squad is very similarly built to Barcelona, not in the sense of play, but in the sense that on every line there is a world-class player, and on every line there is difference, and there is the ability to diverse the way that you go to goal, because you have Dahlmann, as you mentioned earlier, inverting to allow for Julia Gwyn to come in and completely dominate on that right-hand side. Clara Bull is doing anything and everything she can do on that left-hand side to be so easily one of the best players in the world right now. And then Damjanovic, which is obviously, I've doubted Damjanovic. I don't think that this is the game to prove why Damjanovic is, a top striker, but you can't deny the fact that she's doing a job. And I don't think we should take the first half to be any sort of indicator that there is some dip in form for Bayern, because we saw it with the Arsenal game being really the example, that they can just come back and just hit you on spades. And I think that this Bayern team, if they don't make a semi-final, if they don't even make a final of the Champions League, it'll be a real shame, because I think this particular team is a fantastic group of players.
I want them to win. I actually want them to win. I like Barcelona. I love watching Barcelona. I love watching them every week. They're one of my favorite 90s to watch every week, even though you know the result. I want Bayern to beat them. Obviously, I don't want Lyon to win the Champions League, and I think Barca would beat Lyon, but the reality is that this Bayern side, they deserve the flowers that they're getting. Clara Bull, if they win the Champions League, will win a Ballon d'Or. That's it. That's it. She will cement herself as a Ballon d'Or, number one. No question about it. Doesn't matter what happens in international football. She will be the number one. And if it isn't, there will be riots in Munich. I can tell you that right now. But my thing with this, it's not just world-class players on each line. It's just players that have been either players that just never collect the same respect that Chelsea players get, that Arsenal players get, that even City players get. I can say for certain, no question about it, that Clara Bull, Ket is a better defender than all the defenders we have, but no City fan would say that. I'm the only City fan who would say that Ket is a better fullback than Kasparai. Ket is a better fullback than AG at left back. Ket is Ket and Julia Gwyn are arguably two of the best fullbacks in the world. The way that they play, the way that they present forward, and I mean Julia Gwyn specifically, the leadership skills to be able to control the right side for whoever plays on the right side, whether it be Dahlmann or Tanikawa who inverts, or Alara Settler who comes off the bench. There's a reason why we like I get so hyped when I watch them. They're so good, and like in Menso, everyone gets that hype when you just say names. You can just say names. I feel like in 10 years' time, this is the Bayern Munich side where I'll be looking back and I'm just I did the Damjanovic DNA song. Like it's not about Damjanovic. It's about how dominant this Bayern side gets, and I believe they deserve the edits. They deserve the PR that other world star elite clubs. Yes, they don't have the pedigree just yet, but we know Bayern will be a force. We know Bayern will be a perennial force because they are in Menso and they have given the time for the Woso to be this great. I hope Clara Bull does not leave. I hope Clara Bull becomes the greatest Bayern Munich player to ever live. Like that is her ceiling, honestly. If she just keeps playing like this, there's no question why she couldn't. And obviously you end up in a Mount Rushmore with players like Leah Schuler, and you end up going for the Frauen Bundesliga Mount Rushmore with players like Birgit Prince and Alex Popp, and like you've got pedigree in the Frauen Bundes that doesn't ever get the respect that it should, because there are players there that get mopped up by WSL sides. They get mopped up by Barcelona. How much of Barcelona's side is just VFL Frauen? Like that was the joke at one point. So like they're not a side that's going to disappear from the zeitgeist of Woso, and I'm excited to see them. Firstly, I'm excited to see them pack in Manchester United and show the levels and shush all the WSL fans that go like, oh, well, we're the best league in the world. You're about to see what other leagues can deliver. But that 7-1 that happened against Barca, that's past. That there is no damage done other than if it comes back as a recurring nightmare. They can't do any worse than that. So Clara Bull, get the ball, do what you do, because no player can stop that. I don't even think Ona can, and we'll find out really, because it's a great preview for a semi-final at some point, which I'll give it its worthy flowers and its poetry that it deserves, because if it's United versus Barcelona, I might kill myself. I might cry. I might absolutely cry.
I was just going to quickly mention about VFL. I think we're seeing the changing of the guard finally occur. I know that Bayern have been incredibly dominant in the league, specifically in the 2020s. You know, since the start of the 2020s, they have won a majority of the Bunds. But I think now it's been about nearly 50 games that we've had a Klassiker, and I think now Bayern are really going to make a tilt to try and get to the VFL levels. VFL have a lot of the Klassiker wins, and a lot of those actually came from cup ties against Bayern, where they just completely demolished them. But I think now we're finally seeing a change of that guard, and I think Bayern will go on to be, for the next 10 years, I think, perennial German champions.
Copying Menso in many, many ways. And I mean, I'm waiting for the Jurgen Klopp of Woso to topple that. Yeah, to topple
Alonso.
The Alonso. No, that will come after, but we have to get a Woso Klopp, and then we get a Alon Woso. Alon Woso. Leverkusen versus Hoffenheim, a very meh affair, which started a bit dynamite, to be fair, with the little. I mean, this goes back to this has been a week of Woso blunders. These penalties that people are giving away. Like, why are we falling on? Like, I will get to the Italy at some point. Why are we falling on people? Why are we like slipping over and killing people in the 18-yard box? Like, do it in the middle of the park for a goal kick, but let's not give away penalties this much. But Cerci back on the score sheet, a 1-0 win. I feel like Leverkusen had ample opportunity to get back in this game. Not really with Fudalla. I feel like Fudalla got her work cut out for her in this game. But a shout out to a Benchwarmers Owoso podcast legend in Laura Johanna Dick. Just running the show. How many saves? Six?
I think 6, and I think that she had a man of the match performance. I think that she was incredible. I don't think Hoffenheim actually really deserved to win this game, in full honesty. Yeah. I really think that Leverkusen outplayed them for large spells of this game, despite Hoffenheim having a majority of the possession. I think Leverkusen had 23 shots to Hoffenheim's 8. I mean, at some point you have to ask yourself why only 6 of those are going on target, and you have to kind of question the fact that Fudalla is just not really equipped to go up against these top teams.
Oh, that's harsh. That's so harsh. Kramer had a big chance to finish off that game and hit the post as well. I think they were off. She was off, but Fudalla can't do everything. Like there needs to be a team behind her supporting her. She only had 3 shots in the game. Yeah. I think she usually gets 4 or 5. Like I do think there could have been more, and I think Hoffenheim sat back in this one and did their job to be able to weather the storm in comparison to what happened last week. The disaster at home where Hamburger ate them up. But Hamburger are doing it to most teams, to be honest. Holding on to a draw with Bremen in what can only be described as ample conditions for wet weather football. I don't know how I saw many of these highlights, but another penalty for Hillebrand. 1 penalty scored, 1 penalty saved by another Benchwarmers Woso goat in Mariella El Sharif. The first week, she was our team of the week in the first week of our Woso Benchwarmers team of the week. But that foul, these undisciplined fouls are just not okay. Like, I'm expecting clean buns this week, no penalties. But I mean, speaking of penalties, her 8th penalty goal of the season. If anyone wants to call anyone a penalty merchant, it's my pen goat in Larissa Mulhouse. When do we put her in the top 5 penalty takers in Woso world football? Because, I mean, she has 12 goals this season. She has 11 goals this season and 8 of them are pens. But that penalty was very well taken, top right corner. But, yeah, it was mainly Bremen pushing for the winner. I felt like Hamburger were happy to take the draw, eat the draw up. Hamburging away. But Bremen, I don't know. Do I expect Bremen to win this game away from home?
Yes.
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, there's absolutely no reason that Hamburg should be in this form right now. To be completely honest with you, for the majority of the season, they have not been at this level. I don't know what happened. A draw, a win, a draw. That's the best form that you could ask for a team that previous to this had only gotten 2 draws in the league. Like, they hadn't won a game. So I'm really fascinated by this Hamburg team. I'm really fascinated by Brunthler. I think that she's a baller. I think that she's incredibly... Her acceleration is phenomenal. I think she should probably get picked up. She's only 25. She's from Austria. I mean, maybe Spills.
You're so Zins coded. Yeah. It's so ridiculous. Oh my god! But there was a red card in this game, I believe, as well. I think Hausiker was. Yeah. I mean, a second yellow, I believe. Mm-hmm. But I mean, just a goalkeeper's Bundes performance, really. I mean, you've held on to the storm. I feel like Bremen had the ample opportunities in that second half to be able to deliver something of note, but only 1 big chance from 7, and they did control the ball. I don't think they controlled the tempo with the ball specifically, because ultimately Hamburg can beat you on the break, and when you have players like Brunthler, Hillebrand, Red, they go hard. They push on their width, and they hug the touch line. And I mean, you can see now players hug the touch line a lot now, because ultimately you can push through with that midfield. I mean, we spoke about this Hamburg midfield that won 4-0 last week in Martens and Bartz, but Martens ended up coming off early with injury, which is a bit of a shame. But no, there was a lot of work for the Hamburg defence to weather the storm, and you had their centre half making 19 defensive contributions. So it's not like they didn't earn that extra point, but yeah, a bit of a shame on Bremen to not be able to get the finishing job done. In comparison to a team like Frankfurt, who delivered on the scoreline is very flattering to Frankfurt, because, Freiburg are a team that, as we said last week, the first 8 games of this season, they were unbeaten. I know they had a few draws in that process, but they're definitely not a terrible side by any means, which shows the balance of the Bundes. But I said Freigang's got to come back into form, and this was the game to do it. And there was great pace in that play, great confidence in that play. Didn't give up on it. The old Freigang, the old Freigang scores the first shot. The semi-old Freigang takes that shot and doesn't go for the rebound. I just said regang. But the new Freigang takes that shot and is hungry for the rebound and pats it in. And I think that was a good opening goal. And I'm very happy to see her on the sheet. And now we're going to talk about one of my favourite players in Frankfurt, probably my favourite player in Frankfurt other than the RAS, in Mehmeti. I mean, Mehmeti's probably just one of the most underrated players in women's football. I think she I defy to watch her have a bad game. She can shoot from distance. She can shoot with both feet. She's not weak on the ball. She doesn't go missing. She's an international captain for Kosovo at 26 years old. Like, I don't know, if I'm Real Madrid and I want leadership in the midfield and I want De Bruyne and Angadal to get a break, she's right there. No one's holding on to Mehmeti for more than 300,000, 200,000 in my head.
In that, like, this is going to sound offensive at first, but in that, like, very Sunday League amateur football sense, she looks for space forward beyond her and she just drives into that space. And I love that about a footballer, because what happened is when she drives into space, it completely leaves chances for players like Sens to get the second goal because she's completely open. I mean, everyone's drawn to Mehmeti, that, you know, back post, you have a player like Sens, who's another phenomenal player, to get an easy tap in and then make it 2-0.
So it was Mehmeti playing that ball for Sens, and then the third one was the girl who is basically on the score sheet every week for Frankfurt. Blomqvist is the Benchwarmers Woso podcast of Frankfurt. How did she score that goal? That was a ridiculous volley into the right corner. By the way, the comms for this Frankfurt game were on fire. I loved it. The English comms for this were magnificent. I love the English guy.
Yeah? Is he Canadian?
I don't know, and honestly, I don't care. He, like, Blomqvist took the shot. He was like, Blomqvist, oh yes, and it was like I was gassed. Like, that's what I need from comms. I need comms that treat every game like a UCL final, because every game is a privilege to commentate in my head. But yeah, look, 3-0 win, very flattering. But shout out to Lena Altenberg, who has had quite a tough season for Frankfurt in goals. Has had her moments, don't get me wrong, but I mean, this game will go by the wayside. I mean, she did make 6 or 7 saves as well.
She had a massive game in my opinion. I think she saved Frankfurt from what would have probably been a very embarrassing game, because of the fact that I don't necessarily think that they should have won by this margin. They probably should have won, but not by this margin. I think 3 goals, as you said, very flattering to a team that has been quite uninspiring. We've talked about it as well. I don't think, with the player and the caliber that they have, this was a team that was supposed to be challenging at least for second. I mean, they can still go in for European spots, but I honestly think, and it's so funny to say looking back 25 weeks, but it's fascinating to see that tie that they had in the Euro qualifiers to get into the Champions League, which they didn't win, would have such great ramifications for their season.
Yeah, I don't disagree in any way. My issue with Frankfurt is that I just don't think they're playing their best players in their best positions, and it's become one of those teams where you have a lot of quality, not necessarily world-class quality in every position, but quality that they don't know how to fit the right ways. So players like Anyomi are not playing to the level that I deem them to be. I don't think Reutler is playing to the... And don't get me wrong, Reutler had a hat trick last week or something, or rather like that, like a ridiculous game. But it's one-off, whereas she should be doing the Jess Park thing where she's playing 8.5 every week. And Grau is a very good player that holds the line. Mehmeti's great. Sens is great. Blomqvist off the bench. You have players like Chiba on the bench. You have Rasso. You have...
Rasso was not on the bench for this
No. Like, you have Rasso in the squad. Like, I just mean in the whole of, like, building a front six. If Arnautis is going to play this 4-3-3, then Reutler's got to be in the 10, personally. And she can start on the right and invert, but they don't have the strength on that right side to, like, from a fullback position. And that's not a slight to Nadine Ryson, who's definitely put her form into a certain caliber of player where I think she'll be looked at as a Swiss right back. I think a lot of teams are looking at Swiss right backs at the moment, and the Swiss crop come up of these 20 to 25-year-olds that are really, really good. But I just think if you're going to get Reutler's best game, that's probably where Frankfurt are going to do their most damage. And I maybe it's not a 2 up front. Maybe it is. Maybe they play a bit narrower. I don't know what the plan is, but they clearly have quality. It's just about getting the best out of their best. I think if Graw is having a better game than Sens, then we've got a little bit of a problem. If Reuteler isn't as having a good a game as Freigang, I think that, I mean, obviously it's going to change. It's going to pick and choose. I just think we saw the best of Reuteler in the first half of this year. That's what it should look like. And she can have games where she goes missing and games where she gets doubled, and that's fine. But I don't think shoehorning her on the right side is the answer, and just playing her wide. Like, I know she likes it wide, but ultimately if she ends up at Arsenal, I wouldn't want her wide. I would want her through the centre.
At this point, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't think, given the fact that there's a team around her that I think needs to be a bit motivated, just given the fact that players like, I'm looking at Freigang, for example. If I were on the pitch and I saw a player that was in exceptional form last season, I would want to be that player to be like, come on, let's motivate you a bit, because she's arguably the best player on that team right now and has been for a long time. I think what Arsenal needs right now, especially in midfield, that we're not always getting from someone like Frida Maanum, is the willingness to put the team on your back and drive from midfield. And just because I haven't necessarily seen that from Reuteler, I've seen it for the Swiss national team. That's fantastic. But for club form, I haven't seen it. I would be interested in seeing how she would play in the WSL and for a team like Arsenal, but it would be really challenging for me to comprehend her starting for us, if you know what I mean.
No, 100%. And while Kim Little is still doing a thing, like, I think she's the answer for when Kim goes, as Mariona will take the Kim role, and then Reuteler can play that 10 role and be given the freedom that you'll have eventually. But that is all we have for the Bunds as we move into the Femminile. We had another first v second matchup, the champs versus the form side. This was going to be the moment where I roast Leggy, the moment where I say the bottle is coming, the Roman Empire falls, everything, every Roman-based double entendre I can think of, but sadly it was to no avail, as Inter at home still couldn't get it done against the champs. And by the way, those celebrations at the end of the game were celebrations of a team that was stressed, a team that was nervous, a team that basically knows that that was a huge 6-pointer to be able to put a gap and a buffer in the title race, because they've been shoddy, they've been shaky, they've had games where it hasn't gone their way, but this was a game where, I mean, I'd love to say Inter had their chances. They didn't have much of a chance. That was a miserly Roma back four. And look, we might be sitting here at the end of the year, as you said to me off camera, where Winona Heatley is a Femminile winner. Like, that back four has been shoddy in the Champions League. Terrible moments happened in that Champions League campaign, but this was a clean sheet worthy of praise, and some great goals, some great shots. Dragoni playing her heart out, playing her skin out in a big game. This is where it matters. These are the games where it matters. We can talk about first v 15th. We can talk about first v 12th. That's fine. We can talk about the cup games where they win 7-8-0. Let's talk about first v second, where the big games where it matters. Everything's been comfortable for Inter, and they beat Milan in that Milan derby 5-0. That's fine. This is the gut check time. This is when it really matters. And Dragoni took the game on. Wiens took the game on. You had Giuliano took the game on. Bergamaschi took the game on, but it was not taken on by Tessa Vallert. It was Buhega, my Maltese goat, getting the chance to get back in the game and not delivering. And I know it sounds like I'm being harsh, but there were moments in this game where they just weren't good enough. As a team that is challenging for the title, that wasn't a good enough performance.
For me, I think this was Roma's toughest challenge, despite Inter not being second throughout the whole season. It has been a mix and change of who's been second. And obviously, Roma have had far more convincing results against teams like Juve, and that has been able to spur on the momentum of the title challenge. And this game is, for all of us watching the Femminile, really deciding whether Inter are kind of up for it. They haven't really had the opportunity since their inception to really have a go at a title challenge. And I'm not saying that this game completely takes them out of any title challenge. I mean, they're 2 games behind now, and we don't really know what happens. I mean, how many games are there left? Like 12. So you never know what's going to happen. But simply in terms of looking at the Roma side that came out today, knowing that it was probably going to be a tough challenge against an Inter team that is scoring for fun. This to me was a far mature performance and a performance of champions.
11 games left in the race, and to overturn 6 is really just basically Roma in the driver's seat. It's not Inter winning it. It is now, if Inter win the Femminile, if Juve somehow miraculously win the Femminile, it's because Roma have lost it. That's the difference now. It's not Inter winning it. It's Roma losing it. And that's the part that makes it a little bit more annoying, because you had a moment here where a player like Shukurat was unbelievable in defence. That Bergamaschi doing her job, Baldi making saves. I mean, this is the thing, that the stats are flattering to Inter. They had more shots. They had the same amount of shots on target. They had more possession, but it was deliberate. It was deliberate from Rossitini. That was the thing. Roma's team, they beat them on the break. They were faster than them on the break. They pushed. They realized the best way to beat this packed midfield of 5 is to let them have the ball, try and facilitate something, and then when you have 3 at the back, you have to recovery run. You have to put the pressure on, and players like Dragoni and Veens and Cerci. Cerci was so good, by the way. Shout out to Cerci in the midfield. She was fair. She probably should have scored when Magul whipped that ball in. Sorry, I got that wrong. Who whipped the ball in? I think it was Bergamaschi whipped the ball in, but Cesar also should have scored when Magul whipped the ball in. So there are Hungarians all around this game in the 10 doing the business in the Femminile, which is really exciting. I can't believe I mixed them both up, which is hilarious. Look, I don't know. There's no other way to talk about it. Polly came off the bench, wasn't really enough. I don't think that.
I think she was their best player. I'm being
really.
So serious. I think that she was easily their best player. She had less time, and I can definitely give praise to the center of the park for Inter for at least keeping up with a very, very fast Roma team that's very good on transition. But when she came on, there was a bit of life. I felt like there was a bit of impetus to play, and that might be just the fact that Polo is a far more mature player and kind of understands the weight of this particular fixture a bit more than some of the newcomers. But in my opinion, that last 15 minutes was the best and I've seen of Inter in this game, and was the Inter that we knew coming into this game. So when they didn't score on that last chance, that last fantastic chance that they had, it was surprising. It was a bit hilarious. It was a bit City R-coded, but it was something that I was like, that right there is a title defining moment. Like that moment will be looked back and be like, that's how Roma won this championship.
100%. And look, I just think that having Polly, Buhaga and Valot on at the same time is just too much up front. And I understand Magul can't play 90 minutes. I understand that, but maybe that was just the wrong decision. Maybe she should have come on later, come on at the 45, inject some life. I don't know what the answer to that game was, but all I know is that Piovani will be looking at this game as a missed opportunity and rewinding it back and think what happened. And it was kind of just easy after the goal. I feel like Inter said, we're happy with a 1-0. We're happy with a 1-0, and you're not offering us anything. They just didn't. It was kind of, I mean, it's sad that this is the part that's coming in my head. It was a bit Queen's Gambit-y. It was like, we've scored, you're not actually a threat. You're a fake form side, and you're not going to score against us. And for a team like Roma to act like that when they've been so leaky in the last few weeks is ultimately, I mean, a credit to Rossitini for putting the mentality in his side to be able to hold out the game. But also, I mean, it's a bit of a snap back to reality for Inter. And, I mean, it puts them in a difficult position. I mean, not as difficult as it could have been. I feel like it would have been a better question if Juventus were level on points with them. But Juventus decided to do me a disservice and my takes a lack of favour. But we had a game of two halves. Let's put it like that. Juventus versus Tanana. Tanana, a team that had struggled at the bottom of the table for a long time in this league, who are now off the bottom of the table for a considerable amount of time, to be honest. But are going to stay stay away from the bottom of the table because of performances like this. I mean, put into the fact that they were playing at home. This was an institutional ground. I mean, this is how you beat teams. You put a ground that just makes a team like Juve look a bit shoddy, but game is game, really.
Shoddy. It looked like a pitch coming out of the western suburbs of Melbourne. And
I think I covered that with shoddy.
Yeah. No, it had to be explicit.
Before taking the shots at the West. Shout out to all our West Side listeners, by the way. Yeah, exactly.
Look, this game was a fantastic game. I had the multi-screen on between this game and the Real Madrid game, and I shook the Real Madrid game aside because Ternana absolutely showed up. In the second half, we can talk a little bit about the first half being a bit more even. Juve probably should have run away with it, and on any other day probably would have. But Ternana in that second half was a performance of a team that isn't just fighting to stay up into Serie A, but it felt like a bit of vendetta. It felt like a bit like, we're going to beat the champions.
You had to use Italian there. You had to say vendetta as well. But, I mean, this is what I wrote. I wrote in the prep, if you never watched Woso and just watched the second half, you'd think Ternana is a UWCL side. I'm not even joking the way they played. But, I mean, I have to ask, like, Leah Valti got straight chefed up in that second half, where the midfield, like, we can talk about the goals and we can talk about Pirone and Kimo being generational for Ternana, but I mean, the battle was lost in the midfield. I think Pinto did her job in the first half. Brighton did her job. Amazing goal in the first half. I feel like Valti wasn't terrible in the first half.
No, she was quite good in the first half.
They just got run over in the midfield, mainly on the left side. To be honest, I feel like that was that shift why Krumbeigel had to come off. Pinto came off. Capetta came off, but. I mean, to score just before halftime for the penalty, a terrible penalty to give away. That was probably the worst penalty of the week that was given away, because I mean, they were all over them. They didn't need the jeopardy. And then you had Kimo, she got trampled over by Pinto. Like, maybe it's the Portuguese gene, I don't know, but like, just going after a player like that when you're 2-0 up just invites them back in. And a player like Valeria Pirone, who, I mean, I was thinking about earlier, I remember we covered it earlier in the year when they played Fiorentina, and in the 93rd minute she bottled that pen, but she's made up for it this time. She scored it straight down the middle, sent the keeper packing, and then the second half they deserved that equalising goal, and they got it in a very unlikely way. I mean, there were chances in this game to score goals, and they were running the show. But, I mean, Caligaris, just a player that I've given praise before, just poor defending. The chaos ball consumed Juventus, and they did have a chance to win the game, I think. Lindsay Thomas, but not good enough. Hit the side netting, and that was Ternana celebrating like it's a Champions League final at the end of the game, and Leah Valti can cover her face with her shirt and do that whole 90-minute finishing game thing. But ultimately, you realize this is a dramatic game where there are huge consequences to this. They are 8 points behind Roma. Is it even salvageable in the next 11?
No, I don't think it is. I think that this is a complete shot to the mentality of this Juventus team that I think has just been completely run through the ringer in the last few weeks. I mean, talk about the Champions League, talk about this game. It's been poor, and I don't think that you can blame the veterans of this team. I think that they're doing as much as they can, but they're not being carried by the players who can actually carry this team. Of course, I'm looking at Thomas. I'm also looking at a player like Vangsgaard. I'm looking at their back line. It's just not working. There is a real disconnect. And I think on that Volti point, this has been the thing with Volti. Volti is a fantastic footballer. When you give her the time to be a fantastic footballer, the players around her have to work to allow her to do that. In the first half, I think they did allow her to do that. Fantastic space opened up for Volti. She was able to make those through balls. But when Ternana started going down the flanks and they started really overplaying in terms of like physically overplaying this Juventus team,
outworked,
completely outrun. And right now you have to ask, I mean, if you don't know anything about Italian football, this is basically like Chelsea losing to Leicester, right? So just take that into consideration. Chelsea loses to Leicester. that is a complete shot to any possibility of calling yourself a potential champion. I don't think Juventus were ever going for the championship, given the fact that there are so many points behind. But now it's a question of how can they make European football? How is this going to look like going forward?
I'd say Chelsea to West Ham. I'd give Tanana that credit. They're not the worst team in the league. Genoa are worse. The Genoa are worse than Tanana by a considerable distance. But I mean, it's not really their fault. I mean, Genoa are getting packed in by Como, so it's not really like. I mean, and by the way, Chids, shout out Chids, good game as well. Going into the Asia Cup, keeping her form as well. But that is all we have for the Femminile, as we're going to brush through the Arkema as we usually do. PSG v Lens. How do you alert? We have Rome Lukta with a 47-minute hattie. All of her goal. I wrote it here. Is Lukta what Stina is if she played in the Arkema? Is it Arkemius?
Yes.
Stina Arkemius.
Well, I've said before, I've had this discussion with some people. I think if Stina is to leave, it's to Serie A. I just see her playing for like a Serie A team.
Black Sirianus.
Yes. But I think this just goes to show that this type of player thrives in the Ligue 1. And her and Kanjinga have, outside of Lyon and their spectacular combinations and duos in that team, some of the best duos that we just did not get to see in Europe because of how they play. Lukta did not play like this in Europe. And yet she's dropping hatties, man of the match performances, carrying this forward line of PSG.
I mean, the first 3 games she didn't play at all. Exactly. She wasn't in form. She wasn't good enough to get her spot, and now you just can't see the team without her. The issue PSG have, I mean, not to break the bank or anything, but I think they need to break the bank to keep them, not for them, but for other players. Like, they've got to give incentive to be second, right? Like, they're not going to beat Lyon to the title unless you give them the ability to, and you only get the ability to if you mass invest. And you've got what many would consider a world-class goalie. You've got 2 generational talents who are 23 years old and 25 years old, respectively, in Kanjinga and Lukta, who, if not given the proper investment to help out, will look the other way, 100%. Kanjinga already been asked by Chelsea. There's no reason why they wouldn't go for her in the summer if Kerr doesn't deliver in the second half of the season, if Beaver Jones doesn't deliver in the second half of the season, if Myra Ramirez remains disappeared in the second half of the season. There is no reason why Kanjinga can't be an option. Rome Lukta, the same thing. She could go to the Femminile. She could go to the Liga F. She could go anywhere. I could see her at Sociedad, to be honest, and do the business there in their Champions League run. But the reality is that PSG has to set up an attack for next season, because right now what they are is what we expect them to be. It's a C. I'm giving them a C. Actually, you could go C- for that Champions League run, probably a D.
Because they're expected to do this.
But they're expected to go further in Europe, and they're expected to be in finals and give it a go
domestically
and be second. But the reality is that Paris FC and Nantes aren't that far behind them, and Nantes are perennial drawers at the moment, so I think they will eventually catch up with them. But Paris FC aren't that far behind them because they're packing in teams when they need to, and you have them beating Le Havre away from home, and it was a very nice win. They looked fresh the way they played. Their kit is beautiful. I love that kit. The stripe. Yeah. It's like River Plate, but it's Parisian River Plate. And I mean, you had the midfield on fire. You had Koroshek doing her job. You had Lamogadek doing her job. You had Garbino on fire with her brace, and Azaro got her goal from that shoddy defending from Le Havre. I mean, there are just moments in the Arkema that make you question, in comparison to Liga F, where it doesn't happen as much. But is anything else you want to mention about the Paris FC game?
Not necessarily. I just think that if we're looking at contestants for that second place, it's really great to see that there are more than just one team. And I think that PSG probably, if I'm being honest, probably will get that second spot just in terms of depth and ability to just ride out a season. And if anything, it would be maybe worse if they got second, given the fact that their Champions League was so poor that it's like, so they could do it domestically and have those final-esque runs, because right now it's a final every week for from second to fourth or fifth, really. It's a final every week to try and get that second spot. And if they're doing it every week, performing at this level, it's a bit embarrassing if you think about it. And maybe that actually is the incentive for players to leave, knowing, well, we're not doing it in Europe. Might as well do it domestically and in Europe in teams that aren't PSG.
They've got Lyon Lyonnais helping them out as well, like Maylene Mendy getting their goal.
I think a player to watch. I think she's incredible.
Interesting. I mean, we'll find out if she gets recalled ultimately. I think there's no doubt about that. Her and Liana Joseph are definitely probably part of the project. Good penalty, though. 19-year-old given the reins for penalties. It's pretty impressive, too. But yeah, nice 4-0 win. And then to finish off the Arkema, we have Lyon, who did a number on Marseille. To be fair, first half an hour of this game was actually quite back and forth. I feel like it was relatively end-to-end stuff. Tarsian doing some very good defensive things on her back foot. She is, I mean, for all the crap we give her, she is physically gifted in her ability in the air, her ability to run back, her recovery runs are very, very good. But, I mean, yeah, Corbin Schrader, nay Albert, as the comms called her, by the way. Comms full-on outed her government name when she scored her first goal. Started the floodgates, which is what happens with Lyon, is that they go 30 minutes without scoring, and then maybe it's just a Giraldez thing, where Giraldez goes 30 minutes without scoring, and then it's 6 in an hour.
I was just going to say, I'm deeply fascinated by what's going on with Corbin Schrader. I know that, like, the idea of her and what she represents is completely disgusting, even more than when we first talked about it, just given what's happened in the US and the support that would be given is just diabolical. But I think it's so fascinating that she's a midfielder in a very, very traditional sense that is a little bit different from the US model. I think that she offers some US qualities, particularly her striking, but I think that her composure in the middle of the park has gotten like reasonably better. And it's fascinating to see that Emma Hayes has not chosen her for the US squad. I don't really know the reasons for it, but it's interesting. I think that she is the natural predecessor, the natural person to come in when Haran leaves, despite Haran playing in that 9 position, which is even more interesting. But
that's for Lyon, not for
of course, yes, that's what I mean.
US. Yeah.
But I also think for the US as well. I know that a lot of people would say someone like Lily Johannes would fill that role, but I don't think taking Corbin Schrader out of this squad, but also having her in the squad, it's like there's no real.
They don't need her.
Positive, negative.
I think they don't need her, and I think it's not a decision about her football. We can kind of leave it. We can kind of leave it at that, in the sense of not that I'm very happy to talk about Corbin Schrader and her myriad of political opinions, but the reality is that Emma Hayes is not just a genius in football. She's a human manager. She knows how to cultivate a squad that loves the space. I just think there is not saying that she would be a hindrance to the space. I'm just saying that there is readily apparent risk in bringing in a player like Corbin Albert in comparison to Sam Coffey, in comparison to Lily Johannes, in comparison to Ali Sentnor, who can also play deeper, in comparison to Lindsay Heaps, who's going to be a part of the squad, and every other midfield. I mean, Macario we've seen play in the 10. Like there are players who can do it. And then you have the youngsters, right? You have the Searses and the Thompsons and the what's her name? The Moultries, the Jaden Shaw. Like it's not a situation where Corbin Albert is this unicorn this archetype of player that they don't have. It's just, yes, it is a question. She is a US women's international player who plays for Lyon, and she's not getting picked. That is the kind of interesting, ironic thing. Yeah. And who knows, like, there's an argument to say that Corbin Albert could nearly start for every other country in the world, because she is good enough to be, like, she is good enough. There's an argument to say she'll be starting when they play against you or Chelsea or whoever they play against. Like, that's how good she is. I don't think she's starting for Lyon, because players that, I mean, somehow
Dumornay is better than her.
I mean, but Lyon simultaneously have some of the most overrated players and arguably the most underrated players in the world. I think Dumornay is getting all the flowers. I think Diani gets more flowers than she probably deserves. I think Ada Hegerberg is amazing. I still think she gets more flowers than she deserves. And then players like Chawinga get no flowers, and Chawinga is arguably one of the best left-sided players in the world, and she does it every single week. She's so good. Everyone thinks her sister is better than her. She's the worst of the Chawingas, and she's not, right? They are you can prefer Temois to Tabitha, but Tabitha's packing in French sides like it's croque monsieur, mate. Like 2 goals, 2 assists. It's too easy. Like even I glaze Vicky Besho more than I glaze Tabitha Chawinga, and I know for a fact that Chawinga is better than Besho. Besho is young and coming up and hungry, but Chawinga is this fully established world-class player that never gets put in that category.
I think that there is a level of inevitability when it comes to Chawinga, and thus it's overlooked. And we have this a lot with many players. I mean, I still think some of the greatest players in the world are underrated, given the fact that people only know them through their highlight reel. Like, people will not be going back to the 6-2 Marseille game to see why Chawinga is one of the best striking left wingers in the world. But if you watch her, you know it. And I think it's one of those things where it goes a bit unsaid to her own detriment. But we know it, and I think Lyon know it, and they know it so much so that I don't think she's going anywhere anytime soon. And if anything, we'll probably see the Chawinga systems play for Lyon probably in the next 2 seasons.
It's not like she also just doesn't have bad years. Like we're talking about a player who's been dominating in her respective leagues wherever she goes since 2015. Like she's been doing it for 10 years. Like without fail. She is so good. She's so gifted, and I mean both of them are. But I'd rather her stay in Europe and do her thing. I mean right now she has 9 goals and 5 assists in the league from 13 games, and she's already beaten her goals to games from last year after her move to Lyon from PSG, where she dropped that ridiculous season at PSG in 23-24, which was just ultimately the year of the winger. But I think I think Tabitha Chawinga could be a huge part of the back run of that knockout stage. I think Dumornay, look, if Lyon win the Champions League, Dumornay will win a Ballon d'Or, right? Probably. But if Chawinga can put on the show for the last 5 games of their Champions League season, that's what I want to see. And maybe they can flip the narrative. I think the Chawinga sisters have the PR and the backing to be able to look, they could be the first African players to get Ballon d'Or. Oh, well, yes, by the extension of like get the closest to winning. We did look that up recently in the sense of who was the closest to winning a Ballon d'Or as an African player, and I believe it was Oshuala.
It was Oshuala and Barbara Banda, who were on even petting outside of the top 10.
Yeah, and that's wild. And like to have a player from Malawi like Tabitha and Temois to even be in the mix, have the conversation. I think all it takes is for her to have 5 amazing games at the top flight. And we can, and media outlets can flip the narrative like that. And and there's no reason why she couldn't win a Ballon d'Or. That's the difference. It's not like out of the ordinary if she were to just play like this, how she has against Marseille, against VFL, and then you or Chelsea, and then do it in the final, and then all of a sudden we're going, wow, Chawinga is the absolute mustard, and she's done it all, and that's what I wouldn't mind if Dumornay or Chawinga won it, because they both really do deserve their flowers, and there are different teams on the run and there are different players on the hunt, because I mean I'm sure a lot of people will be happy if Clara Bull also won a Ballon d'Or. But that is all we have for Europe. When we're looking down under, we go to the dub. but the most balanced league in the world, CCM versus my Melbourne City, a CCM without the Rasmussen, that is Annalise Rasmussen. They are much less of a threat attacking without her, and it showed in this game. But Briley Henry, Aideen Keane, and Holly McNamara doing their job to run this show. I do feel bad for Donella Buttress because of how she started the season, but also she is a child and she will get in the team. She will get in the team eventually. Yeah. There is a hierarchy, and Briley Henry playing further up instead of in that left back role is much better. Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you so much for not. I mean, I don't know why Donella Buttress isn't getting more minutes. Like, she should be coming on the 75th, not the 89th, but like, how are you just going to utilize her pace for a minute? That doesn't help anything. But McKenna's free kick at the bar, and then we had a Merseyside moment, mainly because we've seen both Merseyside teams do this, but we had the Otto to Stotto when we had a centre-back assist and a centre-back goal, and the comms literally said it. When have you ever seen a centre-back assist another centre-back? 3 in the last 3 weeks, buddy. Watch English football. It's okay. But Jackson playing really well, Keane hugging the line like she has never been hugged before, but I absolutely love it, and she absolutely outworked the fullback, the CCM fullbacks. Sad we couldn't keep a clean sheet, but a much better attacking display from us. The chaos ball from a set piece, basically the easiest way to score against Melbourne City. Pretty much a guarantor for a goal, and Izzy Gomez, who definitely probably deserved a goal for the performance of CCM. But that 3-1 game, I don't know, there's not much else really to say other than the fact that we've held our place at the top, really.
You were temporarily 6 points ahead, which I think is important. I mean, now you're just 3 points ahead, which is also good. I mean, I don't think that you're not going to win the minor premiership. I think this was a very, very good game from you guys, just given the fact that you've had some pretty stinkers. If you're being honest here, it hasn't been a fantastic comeback post-break. And I think,
no, you're 100%.
And I think that City right now are just looking for some consistency. And I think that if that means that this forward line is getting goals, I think that you should just stick with it. I respect Buttress. I think I know now why Holly McNamara is never going to leave City. It's just to keep Buttress out of the team, obviously. But I think that right now, given the break that's coming up, regaining that momentum is just so important, just coming into the latter stages of the dub and then the finals.
Couldn't agree more. And I don't know, it's just a problem with that ending to the game. If that happens at the start, and they did have a few shots.
Gomez had a fantastic game as well.
Yeah, of course. Like, Mirez made a few saves as well. Like, the problem is it's so different in the league. Like, you can get away with this performance in the league, but in a final, all of a sudden you're 1-0, 2-0 down, and then that's it. 90 minutes, they hold on, they put players behind the ball, and that's it. And that's the problem. That's what's been eluding us. Like, we can win the minor premiership, and I'm sure players will be gassed. The coaches will be amazingly happy. I want us to win the big one. Like, win the final, win the playoffs. We need to show that we're not just this cup side, this league side that can be run over in a cup tie. And every 90 minutes is different, but let's show that we can put in a complete performance against that, in comparison to Wellington, who couldn't do it against your lot, right?
And, or is it my lot couldn't do it against Wellington? Just given the fact that, I mean, one team here is, I think, vastly more in form, and that is us. Vastly more.
The draw FC, that is Melbourne Victory.
No, it's the fact that we held you out, and to me that was promising, despite being a very ugly game to watch. It was promising.
So did you hold them out this time?
No, it was more about, like, the fact that our team
perseverance.
The fact that our team, unfortunately, and this is a perpetual thing that is happening with Victory right now. We can't score goals. Like, at this point, it's coming to a point where we're relying on penalties, we're relying on quick breaks, we're relying on players that at the start of the season looked like the answer, and are now becoming a bit burdensome. And it's becoming a point where it's like you're trying to dead weight at the end of the pitch, waiting for a ball to be pinged up to you without any play in the midfield. And right now, I think that's what's stifling us. It's also the fact that we can't close off games, let alone start games. I was very disappointed in the first half. The second half was a bit more interesting, but I was.
Oh,
I was,
I mean, the penalty was well taken for Polly,
of course,
but
it's
to
false
get the
alarms.
penalty, Sakalis, the way she cooks both Walker and Jail is
Sakalis
just,
is a good player.
that was amazing. Well, I mean, but there was a lot of questions about her playing on the left, playing on the wing.
course,
Was it the answer? And it seems like
think
she's
that-
adjusted and adapted well.
I think that she's very, very good on the left flank. I think that some of her best moments have actually been back post, left flank driving, all those things that you'd want from a winger when we're playing a horrendous 4-1-4-1, where we have Taylor Ray as our single player in the center of that midfield. I like Taylor Ray. I don't think that she's shown the levels that we wanted when we signed her, because she was supposed to be basically as marquee as Policina's shown it. It's about the rest of the players around them kind of basically reaching her level, and right now it's a bit unattainable because Policina is one of the best players in the league.
Yeah, but it was nearly a 1-0 smash and grab. Your defence did its job. Kayla Morrison leading the back four until Michaela Woods was the key. And then you had Pia Vlock. And, I mean, I think you see the pun coming. It was Vlock and key. Thank you very much. And they unvlocked your defence. And then she keyed the ball into the goal. And that was game, set, draw for the Knicks. I mean, look, the only person who can be more happy that this game was a draw is myself, because I mean, if the Knicks won that game, then they would be on 27 and with a good goal difference as well. So all they'd need is a win against us to clean us up in the league. But this draw puts you in the right goal difference stead, basically. It's no Arkema, so you are
Don't even get me started with that.
You are in
Do not get me started,
in prime position. This is Victory's favourite position on the table, to be in sixth. Oh, to be Orlando Pride, am I right? Like, Jesus Christ. Gotham, Pride, any of the teams with a goat in it that just want to play playoff knockout football. But I don't know. How do you feel about being sixth?
Not great, but also
Great.
No, not great, but I also think that at this point, look, we've talked about this before. Arsenal and the underdog mentality thing, very similar with Victory, I think. And you can also say the same thing that you say with Arsenal, which is how can a team that has been perennial champions, that has had generational players?
This is different. Victory, you guys are the perennial. You are the underdogs by every metric, and I don't mind it.
Yeah, I think that's true. I also think that there is an active attempt to be starting to play far more defensive football, getting ready for what will probably be some disgusting but winning football coming into the finals. And that's what it is about finals football. It's not really about how you get there, but it's about how you do it in those 3 games, however many, actually more because it's legs now. But you have to question, is the performances now just a prep for those finals, or are the performances now just a dip? And I'm waiting for consistency in that form, which is the dub. I'm never getting any consistency, but consistency in form to see what the motivation is in the style of play.
100%. And I mean, around the grounds, we got Adelaide United doing the business against Brisbane Roar at Spencer Park. I mean, they're third on the ladder. Erin Healy Ball is legit. A-League team of the season, 10, probably.
Do you think that she should have probably gone overseas rather than Rasmussen? Just given the fact that one is, I think, far more established.
Yeah, but the Woso scouts don't look at performances. They want goals. Like they saw Rasmussen.
He's getting goals, though.
No, she is getting goals. She is unreal, but let's give her more time, I guess. I mean, I'd say that about Rasmussen, but here we are. Then we had Canberra, who broke Michelle Heyman's 8-goal drought. All the conversation of the game was about that, basically, but not really about Alessino's brace, who probably should have had a hat-trick as well, hit the bar as well. Great strike for the second goal, 24 shots to 3. This was a class difference. Like we talk about the dub, it's a very balanced league, but this was the top of the dub versus the bottom of the dub, and it's not shout out to Western Sydney, who've had a very good month, but this is the difference between playing the top and the middle of the park. And Perth being a bit of a shoe-in for this playoffs.
It's a generational run, Ben.
Crazy win over Newcastle, the 3-goal turnaround. But shout out to Melina Ayres. And also, by the way, this was the McKinnon Bowl, by the way, because you had Teresa Morrissey in goal on one end and Melina Ayres up front on the other. And Melina Ayres with her best Di Canio impression with that volley and a half. Oh my word, what a goal. It's a shame she didn't get a win. That should have been the winner, really. But Tijaan McKenna gets the winner in the 85th minute, and they hold on at a 3-2 victory for Perth, who look the stuff.
They're fifth. They're ahead of victory.
Yeah.
If you had told me that the team that earlier in the season were complaining that they had to actually do away games, like God forbid you had to go and move away from Perth. I mean, a completely different country apparently.
Yeah, but they're doing it now.
Yeah, they're doing it, and they're getting good results. And if anything, I'd be thinking this is maybe even a Central Coast situation. We saw Central Coast do something similar last year. Adelaide as well, coming up late in the season, making a pitch at it. I don't think they're going to do much. I think Wellington is probably the best bet at attempting to kind of dethrone you. But I'm fascinated to see how far Perth go. I
think if Perth end up in the top 5, the top 6, I think Teresa Morrissey has to be the dub goalie, like, team of the season. She's just been unbelievable. The game she's had, the game she's put her team on the back. Like, it's not an amazing team, but there are moments she's had. It's kind of like there are teams that rely on their, like us without Holly. I'd say Brisbane without you without Polly, Brisbane without Benta or Sean, really. CCM without Izzy Gomez. Like, there are just teams that rely on that one player, and Perth, it is Teresa Morrissey. Like, that change in goal was probably the biggest moment for them, and it's turned their whole season around. But that is all we have for the Woso reviews. As we move into a relatively quick preview of the biggest tournament in world football coming up, the Asia Cup. As you see the two kits up there, probably our bets for what the final will be, whether we know who will win it, who will get it, who will even... Actually, we don't know that they will both be in it, to be honest. There are some shoe-ins and dark horses, but, I mean... The Tillies lineup, I will find out if the Jomo experiment is the real thing, really. I don't know if there's much to say other than that. There's not, like, we kind of spoke about the lineup last week of the squad. I think there are no players in it that I think desperately are needed. They've got all the right players. They just need to put it together, similar to Japan in that way, where Japan have... I mean, I question how Japan will set up that midfield. I don't know what the midfield 3 looks like, because either way, I think Nagano misses out, which is crazy, because Nagano's had relatively quite an impressive season for Liverpool, but specifically since the turn of the year, Nagano has been fantastic, but it's hard to get in over Miyazawa, Hasegawa, and Tanikawa, which, I don't know, Miyazawa has historically played in the 9 for Japan, and then they have the ability to have Fujino on one side. They have Shimizu and Koga in defense. They have Yama in goal. This is a serious side made of WSL pedigree. Obviously, the country with the most WSL players in it that isn't English. But I don't know. What do you think about those two sides, really?
I think that the Matildas are so obviously the favourites. I mean, a home tournament, they have the best players in the best positions outside of Japan. So those two teams, I think, are the teams that have the best players in each position. I think it's pretty fair to say that World Cup 23 was an overperformance. I think that it was the fact that it was a home tournament, getting swept up in the galvanization of the Tillies team, the fact that there were some teams in it that underperformed, some teams that, like the Tillies, overperformed, that made it look like it was a much more even tournament, despite Spain and England being so obviously the best teams in the world at that time. But I think 2026 needs to be the year that the Tillies win a major tournament on home soil. If they do not even get to a final, it is the most disappointing thing to happen to Australian football, men and women, ever. Ever. I don't care. They are the best team in Asia, bar one team, meaning they should get to the final to play.
And they're on the other side. They're on the other side. It's not like they're versing Japan in the semi-final.
we have South Korea, which we'll go on a bit later to talk about how they could be potentially a dark horse as their greatest opposition in the group stages. Other than that, it's Iran, and the Philippines, right? Like at that point,
No.
I'm expecting like genuinely
Three,
six to
four,
eight,
five
no,
nil.
no,
Yeah.
6, 8 goals. Like
No.
I need them to
But that's not how
prove why they're
Jomo
here.
plays. It just doesn't. It's just not
It
like
doesn't
I know.
matter.
I know
It
you.
doesn't matter.
I know you think that, but I just don't think that's how we ever play. It's not embedded in our culture. We don't. We didn't like. This is the thing with
We've done it in
international
friendlies.
football.
We've done it in
No.
friendlies.
But it's different. It's different in an international tournament. It's embedded in our culture. We play conservative ball. We just do. And it's not about ability because Caitlin Ford is playing for Arsenal. Kaya is playing for Arsenal. When they get in the green and gold, Rasso is our best player. It doesn't make sense, but she is, right? Like I always hate this. Like, yes, we have great players, but this is like England all over again, where it's embedded in the culture for us to play a certain way as a country. Like it's just how we play. And don't get me wrong, there are moments we like even in the Women's World Cup when we came fourth, right? That was the biggest moment for Australian women's football in history, right?
Football.
Yeah, Australian football history, by the way. Like it's by far the biggest moment, but the way we played, the way we got there wasn't pretty.
It's because it's against the world.
No, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter who we played against. It didn't matter who we came up against. Even against Canada when we were winning 4-0, the goals weren't coming through fluid, beautiful transition play. Like it's not Monty ball. It's not Monty ball. And I know it was Gustafsson ball, but I would love if we come out there and there's this new look Matildas and we do it. It's the same. The names change. The streets stay the same. I would love for what you just said to be right, but maybe I'm just a pessimist. Maybe I'm just a perennial pessimist. I'm embedded into this ideal that like there is something about like culture does matter when you're playing for your country, and there is something in that. It's not about the players. The players aren't being told to sit in a four. The players aren't being told to not be aggressive. Like it just happens. And when we come up against Japan, you'll see it, and maybe we'll beat Philippines 3-4-0, and I'd be happy with 4-0. I know you're saying 6 or 7. I'd be happy with 3-4-0 if it's comfortable and they have no shots and we do our job. But teams like South Korea and China, you've written here as dark horses. I don't see them as dark horses. That's where I think my arrogance comes in. They're not. DPRK is a dark horse. I'll give you that because DPRK China has older pedigree in the Asia Cup. South Korea,
the recent World Cup.
No. They have the recent Asian Cup, but they also have older pedigree in losing finals as well, and being around when Australia were good as well. So there is a little bit of vested history when we play them. South Korea also have their moments, but I just don't think are built the same way, built with the same structure. I think China will finish higher than South Korea. Maybe that's a bit of a hot take. I feel like a lot of people would say otherwise. But DPRK is the dark horse in the sense of that we don't know what they can deliver, but we know that they are good because we've seen their youth crop dominate Spain, dominate Sweden, dominate the world, right? Like that's not the goal, but like the reality is that their under 17s and their under 21s get older and they've both won their World Cups, and we're now at this point where these 21-year-olds are now 22, 23 and the 17-year-olds are now 19, 20, and they're going to come together and say why they're 11th in the world, and everyone's been complaining, oh, well, they're only 11th because they don't really play anyone in friendlies and they don't. Or they're ninth, they're top 10, and people complain and they say they don't deserve it. It's like, well, they come up against who they play and they beat them by a lot, and that's embedded in their culture who they play. But they're going to come up against us. They're going to come up against Japan. They're going to be coming up against China and South Korea. Admirable opposition, and I think they're going to show levels. And I think there is no reason why DPRK couldn't give any of those 5 teams a run for their money.
I just think your pessimism that is actually like optimism veiled in pessimism is because you actually care about this Matildas team. I have very little care about this Matildas team. So for me, it's more about like I'm looking the same way I look at Barcelona, as there's an objective reality where they have the best set of players, such as Japan as well, meaning that they should be the best and thus should be.
I mean, I'm a pessimist in the sense of that if you did a combined Australia-Japan 11, I'd have 7 Japanese players and 4 Matildas. And it's not even close. Like, it's actually not close. I think they're on better form than us. I think they have a better structure than us. Their performance in major tournaments isn't the same, but I think they had a very admirable Women's World Cup where they topped their group. They packed in Spain, in that game. I know that game didn't really have much jeopardy in it as the third game in the group, but they had a very hot go, and then in the knockout stages got knocked out where they probably needed to be knocked out. I think they were the favourites in that game because of how they were playing, but ultimately, like, you come up against better European opposition that can run you ragged. That's what happens. But I don't know. Look, I believe Australia will win. I don't think it'll be in 90 minutes, though. This is the culture. It's embedded in our culture. I think Australia, if we beat Japan, it's only in penalties. It's not in regulation time. It's just not. And also, it's more generational if we beat them on pens, personally. Like, that's just how I see it. It could be a 2-all. It could be a London City Spurs derby. I don't think it is because we don't do 2-alls. We do 0-0s. We claw onto penalty shootouts. We get players like Courtney Vine to put France in the bin. Like, that's us. That's us. We like, you talk about victory being underdogs. You talk about Arsenal being on underdogs. We're the favourites and we're still playing the underdog card. Like, we're show me how we waltz. Like, we don't waltz in any way. We're not dancing. We're waltzing. That even shows it, right? It comes with our identity, and I think we'll beat Japan on pens. I just think we do.
I don't think that's Joe Montemuro's mentality, and I don't think that's the mentality of a team that, for all intensive purposes, is the most loved Australian team. And I don't think an Australian team that is this loved and this admired and has a country on their back goes out to win games 2-0. This is a team that wants to score goals to bring in.
We will see it. We will see it. But there will be criticism, and I'm going to be here defending Jomo to the limits and saying some things are bigger than management. Also, some things are bigger than management and bigger than the individual player. Because I can tell you, let's say we are regressive. Do you think Caitlin Ford wants to play regressive football? Do you think Kyra Cooney-Cross wants to play? They absolutely don't. It's just something that happens. It happens in international football. It happens more with Commonwealth countries, by the way. Like, England do it as well. England's women's do it less, but they also just don't play pretty football. It's gutsy, it's hard, it's ugly football, but it gets results. And that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting a Bradbury-esque, like, in the vein of all the sporting greats of Australia, the ruled out, the undone, like, calling us favourites puts us immediately into tall poppy syndrome if they fail.
Yes, and because it should be. I'm sorry, like, I hate tall poppy syndrome, but I'm sorry, this is the biggest failure in Australian football if they do not win.
That's exactly, and I'm going to be here saying that Japan are better than us, and Japan beat us.
That's why
so it's not a perennial failure if we don't win. It's not a perennial failure if we don't win because the team that are better than us beat us. If South Korea beat us or China beat us or DPRK, but by the way, if DPRK win the whole thing, then everyone shuts the hell up and they listen to us and our takes on DPRK that we've been saying for the last year and a half, right? Which is that they are where they are in world rankings because of their ability, right?
No, well, it's actually because of state investment, but no one wants to talk about that.
He's a genius. He just got re-elected. He's a winner. He's a serial winner. It's embedded in their culture. But yeah, look, we'll do our predictions quickly. I have Oz to win on penalties against Japan 0-0 5-4. 5-4. Mackenzie Arnold, Secretary of Defense. Japan runners up, and the golden boot and player of the tournament will go to Aoba Fujino, a player who is going to carry the front three of Japan to where they need to be. I think the clinical nature won't be questioned after this tournament.
I have gone for Japan to win. I severely underestimated them in the SHEBELIEVES Cup this time last year and was proven wrong, much like many others, in actually a Japanese team that can put together a full tournament performance. And I think it's been a bit rocky in the last 6 to 12 months. They've won things, they've lost things. But I think with this game, especially in a final, I think that they want to reclaim the fact that they are the contemporary winners of the Asia Cup. They are the founding fathers, if you like, of this recent contemporary adaptation of football post basically 2010. But so I've put Japan to win against Australia. I've put 2-0, and I believe that I've put Caitlin Ford as my Golden Boot winner. I don't know who I have as my player of the
tournament.
I think
Surely
that's going to be decided in the later stages of the tournament, as we've seen with many tournaments.
Waffle. She's sitting on the fence, guys.
No,
I
think Caitlin Ford will win the Golden Boot given the fact that she's arguably the best player.
Just say a City player. Just say Hasegawa will get player of the tournament.
I'm not going to say that Hasegawa is going to get player of the tournament.
Tanikawa, just pick a neutral. Pick a neutral player. You know, come on.
No. I'm gonna wait for the finals because
my god, you're so bad at predicting. All you have to do is pick a player. Just pick one player. I've seen you predict. I've seen you predict entire seasons with no variable data.
I want to be right on this. I want to have
but we don't. But we didn't wait till January to do our WSL predictions of the ladder
because I knew that Arsenal were going to win a quadruple. But that's
but they haven't, and you thought we'd come third. That's not going to happen either. So we're sitting at this. Just say, gun to your head right now. You had to pick a player to be player of the tournament at the Asia Cup.
Miyazawa.
There we go. Amazing. Fantastic. Allegra has predicted someone. Now you can change your prediction when we get closer into the tournament and you can complain. But I'm not going to change because I stand by my delusion like a true podcaster. Look, I think Fujino will get both. She'll get the Golden Boot and the Golden Ball. She'll get both, and because she'll be insane. But we have a few qualifiers. We're going to go quick fire straight through them. Spain v Iceland. What do you have?
I have 3-0 Spain.
Lol, I have double that. The Dottiers are going to be crying Dottiers. But then we have Poland v La Dutch. Oh no, you had 4-1. Wow,
yeah, I
impressive.
Had 4-1
that's a way better prediction. I don't know why I put 3-0. The Dutch never get a clean sheet, and they also just are very. I don't know. Maybe no. I've seen. It's because I said I had 3-1, but then I thought Payo just doesn't get the service to get her goal.
No, Payo's been on a run for Poland.
No, but she doesn't get as much service, and I think the Dutch will make sure that she don't. Italy versus Sweden. I had Sweden winning. I hate my life. 2-1 Sweden. Yeah,
this is massive.
I hope Italy win, though. I hope Italy win.
This is massive for me because this is half my culture and then half of my adopted culture, which is Swedish. So this is a massive derby. I've gone 2-2 so that I don't
half your identity versus half your height. Yeah. Basically. Ireland v France. I had 2-0. France pretty miserly at the back, especially internationally. I expect a Mackie brace. Katoto.
Sorry, what?
Mackie Brace, Marie Antoinette Katoto. She's Mac. She's my Mac, Harry Mac, MC Hammer. No, I rate her. What do you have? What's your prediction?
I've gone 3-1 France.
Mate, if Ireland score a goal,
Katie, of course. Katie, Olympico.
Sure. Austria versus Norway.
This is amazing for me.
I have 1-1. Yeah, I don't trust my Norwegian goats. One. Oh, she's not there. She's not there anymore. But
she's not there anymore. Did I?
Yeah, she's out of a job. She got sacked ages ago, bruv. Nah, come on, Lex. Come on, Lex. I'm the perennial Granger update. She's not in a job. 100%. She got sacked after the Euros. I think.
Slow news.
Yeah, I said 1-1. I think Norway are perennial disappointments in tournaments, perennial disappointments in friendlies. I watched that Denmark game. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. So I don't think Austria will be any different.
No, I think Norway's going to go for it. Given the fact that this is a group stage, I think that it'll give Norway a bit of good incentive. Also, Marnum's in fantastic form.
I believe in Marnum, and you believe in Marnum, so she believes in Marnum, and that means we can talk about the She Believes Cup, where Argentina, Canada, Colombia, and the US women's national team, headed by Hayes, will compete in this tournament that I don't really care that much about. Oh my God, this tournament just exists so
Do
that
you not
Americans.
believe in she?
No, I believe in her. I'm a her believes cup kind of guy. But this tournament basically exists so that the US can go, oh, since 2019, we've won more tournaments than Spain, and everyone calls us washed, and everyone says Spain are the best team in the world. No one cares. You didn't play, like, I hope Colombia end your run. I will give this tournament the respect it deserves. If Colombia, I need you to do something. Linda Caicedo, I need you to do something. Myra Ramirez, appear, please. I'm begging you. Play this tournament. I believe in Myra Ramirez. She believes in Myra Ramirez. And Colombia are going to beat the US women's national team. And Caicedo will get both the player of the tournament and the golden boot at the same time. 2 trophies, 3 trophies, 2 hands, 1 woman. She believes.
Okay. I think, this is not even...
You'll go. Okay. Go for it.
This is the big, beautiful She Believes, right? This is the tournament where the US kind of, they love their cultural imperialism. So what they do is like they pick teams. They go like this one and this one and this one. So they've picked Canada because they hate them. They've picked Argentina because they're not that big, but it's like big enough for it to be.
I mean, we covered Argentina a while ago. They are like also one of the most emotionally repressed Woso sides in world football.
Yes.
Like,
but it's big enough in the men's game that people like neutrals will think, oh, so the women's team must be good. They are not good.
They're the worst Woso gradient, arguably, like by a mile. Like Argentina's men's team are the best team in the world. They're the champions, and now we have this. They're like they haven't been higher than 27 in a rank, and Canada just, I don't know who really knows about Canada, to be honest. I hope, and I say that as a Canadian, like I hope that Liv Smith's not there, so it's a Liv Smithless Canada, which makes it all the more unappetizing to watch.
And Casey Stoney has had a particularly poor start to her tenure as a Canadian coach, and I mean Colombia's there, I think, for the fact that they need to have some level of competition, similar to how they had Brazil in the last tournament. Oh, sorry, they had Japan in the last one. Just has a bit of a difference in terms of style of football, because I think the US will be actively looking to play play against this type of team come the World Cup when they play in Brazil. But look, I think that the US women's national team is going to do it. I think that right now their players are in very, very good form, better form than they were last time in the last She Believes Cup when they were shocked in the final against Japan. So I think that they win. I think that Ali Sentinel, this will be her breakout tournament. I think that she had a particularly underwhelming season in the NWSL, moving from bottom place to top place KC, and then kind of got a bit enveloped within the whole Tabitha Chawinga of it all, if you know what I mean. So I think that this will be her breakout. She's had fantastic performances with the US Women's National Team. And for player of the
Tamwa?
Yeah, sorry, Tamwa Chawinga.
Yeah. I was confused. I was like, when did Ali Sentinel play for Lyon? I was like, what's going on here?
No, we're talking about Chawinga for too long.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think genuinely, I think the player of the tournament might go to a midfielder, and I think that midfielder might be Sam Coffey.
There we go. Thank God. She mentioned, I was waiting for that. I was like, you could have said Hasegawa and then it's a double city trio. And then you just have to admit the fact that our players are just going to run both tournaments. As much as I don't care for the US women's national team, I am happy Sam Coffey is happy. And that is all that matters,
I'm
really.
happy Emily Fox is happy.
Yeah, I guess that if, you know what, I'm surprised you didn't say Emily Fox player of the tournament.
No, because they never give a right back player of the tournament. Come on.
Yet. Her Reece James era is coming. But that is all we have for our previews as we move through a rapid fire bench warmers awards. I'm going to let you know my never bench again is the Guatemalan GOAT, that is Andrea Alvarez. That brace against Atleti, the goal was fantastic, and she hasn't had a 90 since September 2025. So congrats, you will be starting until the end of the season. Congratulations, Andrea. You deserve never bench again. Who's yours?
Maylene Mendy, I think that it's kind of time to add her into the envelop her within the squad of Paris FC. I think that having Matera now kind of play in that 10 position will be good for Paris just moving forward. And then I also think that she's a baller at 19. Giving her penalty duties is a fantastic step. And she also had a pretty good first leg against Real Madrid as well in the Champions League. So I think she should never be benched ever again.
Yeah, I mean, she's going to be so good that Lyon recall her and then Paris will be a mess again. But my super sub of the week is Alba Redondo to come on in the 12th minute. Caicedo's gone down, 10 men, do your stuff. If they want to hold on to second in the league and give it a go in the UCL, we covered that. And it's Redondo, Misa, it's that spine of the side that's going to do it. So shout out to Redondo. Great sub, great goal, good stuff.
Mine is Beta Olsen. Unfortunate reason why she came on, obviously, with the Enderby injury, but she had a fantastic game for Liverpool against Everton, more than just an FA Cup round of 13, but also a Merseyside derby. Also, hopefully, meaning that Liverpool regain their top striker, their absolute, linchpin at the top of the field. I lost my words. At the top of their field, and I think that what she offered, playing the most time she's played since November last year, was absolutely phenomenal, getting a goal and maintaining threat.
100%. And I'm excited to keep the Beta Olsen show running, the Swedes running the WSL. I had my come on the pod. I had 3 different ones and they all got beaten, really. So I had the Tillies first, the Tillies Instagram, for those that Asia Cup announcement with one job. Put all the names on one screen, guys. All the names on one screen. Every single country all around the world, they all did it. How we missed the memo, I have no idea. 4 names per slide. What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? How am I supposed to put that in a TikTok? I can't. I had to put the start. Luckily, you started the Instagram video with Rasso, or I wouldn't have been able to use it. But so that was a shambles. But they still didn't get beaten. Silver medal goes to Katie Bowen, New Zealand centre half, who had a stinker against Roma when it matters. But the gold medal goes to, the come on the pod goes to the stewards at Meadow Park for stealing phones, escorting Arsenal fans out of the stadium at the FA Cup for recording the game because they weren't able to license the game. You had fans viewing the game and they were escorting fans out, getting angry at fans for filming.
Yeah,
you guys
TikTok Live,
stink.
Man.
You guys honk. My God. If you're not going to put it on TV, let human beings consume women's football. It's not that hard. Simple thing. People who film aren't a danger, aren't a threat to the British Broadcasting Corporation. I mean, it's in the name. Corporation. It means they don't die. It means they don't go under. The BBC will exist beyond the Benchwarmers or Woso podcast. They just will.
Have
they
you
just
been
will.
watching British politics? I don't know about that.
No. British politics won't exist beyond the Benchwarmers podcast. But BBC will, so long as the FA Cup, the Women's FA Cup exists, at the hands and merit of the FA. But guys, stop harassing fans who just want to watch the sport. It's very simple. That's the first thing. You don't have us if we can't watch it. So game's the game. You had a sad Leggy fan, Leggy, who's watched every Arsenal game since she was able to Leggy, and now she's missed an Arsenal game because of the BBC. It's a bit depressing.
I was watching it on live as I'm scrolling through the comments, being like, "Who's on the ball now?" Anyway, doesn't matter. I don't have a gold to bronze medal tier list. I just have one that's annoyed me and one that is my pick. One that annoyed me, we talked a little bit about it earlier, the Arkema and their league system. I don't understand why they haven't put goal difference as the differentiating factor other than points.
You're just a Luddite. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I think it's important. And also, there's absolutely no PR with Ligue 1. So how am I supposed to know when I'm going on FootMob? I'm like, and it's 2 a.m. and I'm like, am I insane? Or am I seeing a plus X and then a plus very, very different to the
X
team
minus
below?
1. Yeah, a plus X minus 1 being above. Yes,
and
because we can make it clear to our viewers that in the Arkema, it's the head-to-head tie that puts you ahead of the team before goal difference comes into play, correct? Yes. And that is That I love it. I love it.
I
It's
hate it.
quite. I think it's woke. I think it's unreal. I think that's
woke.
I think it's
It's the
woke.
opposite
It's
of woke.
no. It's good woke. It's good woke. It's
No, it's the
you know
opposite of
what?
woke.
We beat you, so we're above you.
How
I
is
love
that
it.
woke? How
That
does
is
that
so
work?
woke. It is literally like you stunk up against us. You beat everyone else 5-0. Who cares? You lost to us. I love it.
That's internalizing versus the woke thing would be the goal difference in a
No,
whole
that's
season.
no, that's so. That's socialist woke. Two different things.
Anyway, my actual
yeah.
come on the pod is Nike because of their horrendous NWSL kids this season. They get worse every year.
I love that it's Nike for their NWSL kids. Not the like, they're just horrible. They're a horrible institution.
No,
they create terrible kids. They destroy the planet. Nah, they just look bad.
They look ugly, but it's not even the design, right? Because I'm telling you that the colors on these teams are not like they're not unable to make fine kits. It is the template. The Nike template is ugly.
Isn't it the same as the 25-26 like European template?
Yes, yeah, so it is. But the thing with it,
it's not great. Nike don't make
not
great kits, to be honest.
But also, this is gonna really annoy like football purists. There is the T90 collection out right now.
The Chelsea one.
Yeah, a bunch of teams.
No, I know, but Chelsea's is probably the most iconic right now, that black kit.
Yes, very much so. The US was a part of the original T90 rollout. I have absolutely no idea why even a handful of teams were not given T90 ranges. I think it would have been baller. I think it would have been brave to do it with the women's team as well, given the fact that in other leagues, women's teams just adopt what the men's team have as their kits. And look, if, in all honesty, I want the NWSL to adopt Adidas as their sponsor because the MLS actually have very decent kits. But you know what? We were given terrible templates, very interesting, if not very tacky kits this season. I'm not happy. And
there'll be thirds and fourth kits that are just as bad, and we destroy the planet more. Yeah, thirds in an American league. Like, what are we doing, guys? Like, just home away, done. That is our not so rapid Benchwarmers awards because we get mad at institutions more than we get mad at individual players, to be honest. That's why we need to make our Come on the Pods individual players because we just go for it. But we are going to finish with the individual human in Woso that we love, revere, hate, despise, all in one. The part of the brain that loves is the part of the brain that hates. We have What Would Kang Do, number 25. 5 is a multiple. So we are going to... 5 is a multiple. 25 is a multiple of 5, which means we are singing / rapping. I say we / it's not we, it's me. It's just me. It's clear that Michelle is just in a class of her own at the moment. And I mean, yeah, LCL's lost a few games, but they're still in 6th, 7th. They're having fun. I think it's important to know that we as Woso fans have an unbreakable bond with Kang. We have to live with the trials and tribulations of her presence, and we accept that. And I present to you someone in the industry that, I mean, a lot of people love, a lot of people hate. I mean, I saw him live at Spilt Milk and he was very disappointing, but this song has been doing the rounds on the talk, so just deal with the fact that we want to be viral and we're clout chasing. But so is Michelle. She's clout chasing too, so don't act like she's any more special than us. But I present to you Dominic Fike, Yongminik Fikang's Woso Baby Dolls. All right, we ready? In a 3, a 2, a 1, a go. There's a nice guitar riff at the start.
Yeah, sure.
I only own Washington Lionesses, my 3 investments, I'm all up, it's outrageous. Have you ever made this much money before? I'll own it all by Woso, even in leagues I don't know. Yeah, I'm talking about the dub, yeah, I'm talking about the Bunds, don't forget Liga F. Rewind me back to 2019. Yeah, my name is Young Me, and I had a Woso dream to buy every single team. Yeah, you just call me Woso Bay. Cupido. My Lion investment has no dilemmas. Johnny, go for UCL with guaranteed Arkemas. My second investment is the spirit in it to win it. They might not get the win, but with Trin, no limits. On a roll with original investments. And my third was London City Lionesses. Sitting in sixth, and I want to see it grow. Ed and Maestro is the answer, fuck for sure. Oh, young me, Michelle Kang is God. She owns Leon Washington. Lionesses, her 3 investments, runs the game, and it's outrageous. How are we going to stop this shit? Because she'll own it all by Woso, even us. Benchwarmers podcast. Oh, fuck, she gonna buy us? Will I gonna sell us? Absolutely not, though. Yeah, that's me. That's the song. That's the end of Benchwarmers, a Woso podcast. We are on no words. I mean, my left AirPod ran out of battery mid that. That's how long we've been talking, by the way. But we are on Instagram, we are on Spotify, we are on TikTok, and we are getting clout on TikTok. We are making Rain Me in edits. We're making normal content that gets more views than that. We are on YouTube putting the same shorts out. We're doing everything we can to show that Woso is the absolute mustard, because it absolutely is. And that's why we put on 3-hour shows like this one for you that are going to be split in 3 separate podcasts, because that's what we do, because we do it every week.
Every week.
Every week. Thank you all for listening. Love, excited for the Asia Cup. Love you all. Love the Tillies. We out.